Warning. This program contains strong language, auditory violence, and mental nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to your uncensored home for World of Warcraft news and opinions. With your host, Berserker, this is Unshackled Fury.
Secrets have been revealed, surprises abound, and there's so much news to cover that I can't do it alone. So welcome back to your uncensored home for World of Warcraft news and opinions, Unshackled Fury. I'm your host, Berserker. This is episode 123, and on today's show, we're talking about the raft of recent reveals about the future of World of Warcraft, the nuts and bolts of patch 10.1 Embers of Neltharion, and what we're looking forward to most, or I don't know, perhaps least. But first, like I said, I've got a guest with me. He is the co-host of the Xbox 2 podcast, managing editor at Windows Central, a fellow defender of Cyberpunk 2077, and making his first appearance since May of last year. Welcome back, Jez Corden. Welcome back, Jez. Great to have you, sir.
Hey, man. Oh my God, has it been that long?
It has been that long.
Almost a year?
Yeah.
What? I have no concept of time anymore. What is this? That's crazy. Yeah, thanks for having me back, man. It's awesome to be here. It's always nice to... Because the other podcasts I do, whenever I bring up WoW, everyone just groans and complains. No names mentioned. So it's nice to get on a show where people appreciate the finer things in life, you know?
That's right. That's right. The exclusive elite. There's the handful of us that really, it's like a good sommelier. We really appreciate the fine vintage of a good Warcraft game.
Yes.
Well, and as you know, and as we've talked about, it's daylight savings here in the U.S. And so I'm up hella early with the world's biggest cup of coffee next to me. Because you're in Germany, so I just want to highlight the beauty of technology, that this is probably the farthest across the globe I've ever had anyone on the show before. So we're like making at least show history. Probably not, any kind of podcast history, because I'm sure people have spanned even further time zones. But, it's like 8-9 hours. It's pretty far.
Yeah, it's quite far.
Yeah.
I feel really bad because, like, you're like, what time can you come on? And I was like, 3 p.m. maybe. I just plucked a random number out of the ether, not thinking, I was expecting maybe you push back on that if it was too early for you. But yeah, I'm sorry about that.
I was too eager.
6 a.m. I was like, oh man, I feel bad now. I could have gone at like 6 or 7 maybe. I don't know.
So then I should probably not tell you how I was up late, like with family, and like I was like, I gotta get to bed, and I kicked everybody out of my house, and I was like, I got this big interview with this guy tomorrow.
Oh wow! Don't tell me that. Oh man.
Nah, you're good. You're good. We did have some family over, did a little smoked barbecue, so we got to do that.
Yeah, good.
Even when it's raining, we're still doing it. So. That's how we do it. But thank you for being here. Our timing could not have been more fortuitous, because you and I had already kind of talked about this a little bit, and then lo and behold, there's a big drop of information this week. You got in on a huge interview opportunity about the new patch in 10.1, and like it lined up perfect. So I was really, really happy. Kind of looked out on this. Because I typically have the worst luck, where usually the week that I drop a podcast, that's the week that a whole bunch of news comes out, and then I have to wait for the entire cycle to go until I actually get in on it. But you and I are talking about this like right after the week. It's Sunday the 12th as we record this. Even further than this, the modern technology and the wonders thereof. When this episode drops, I will actually be in Hawaii. So I won't even be around when this is hitting. So yeah, nice time for vacation when it's cold and rainy around here. So probably going to be another week's worth of information coming between the time that you and I chat here today and when this episode finally drops. So forgive me if I don't have a whole bunch of other stuff, but so much has come out in the last week. I mean, we're barely going to touch on it, I think, because it would take too long. But where I want to start with you today is that you had a wonderful review of Dragonflight, kind of where we are right now. So I wanted to start with kind of the status quo, how the game is for 10.07, where we are. And you had a number of really positive things to say about the game itself, about Dragonflight on Windows Central. You gave it a must-play award. I think you gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Many pros. A con that you brought up, which I think a lot of people share in your concern. But as somebody who I feel like doesn't pull punches, I feel like you're pretty honest. You say what's on your mind. You give an honest opinion about whether something's good or whether something's shit or whatever it is. And I read this as positive, overwhelmingly positive, I would say. But in a nutshell, or just in your own sort of terms, can you describe for yourself where Dragonflight is at this point, what you've enjoyed, and then perhaps that one item that still might need a little work?
I think, like, I really hate reviewing games. I just want to put that out there. And the reason for that is, like, it's this weird balancing act where you've got to make it readable. You can't make it too long because everyone will fall asleep while reading it. So you can't say everything you want to say. And I started writing this thing, and there's so much stuff that I wanted to touch on in more detail, but I just couldn't, because it's really hard to review MMOs in general. You know, I have no idea how some outlets was just like, 2 weeks after it came out, and they're just, oh yeah, slapping like a 9 out of 10 on it. I'm just like, have you even done the raid yet? Like, I still haven't killed Razageth right now. We're doing Razageth heroic, but like I missed out when they did Razageth normal, so I still haven't killed Razageth. I've fought him a bunch of times. I've killed him in LFR, but that's. But yeah, there's something about this expansion that just feels like World of Warcraft's turned a corner, I think. Yeah. I think like they got themselves in a bit of a rut with the whole borrowed power system, and maybe someone higher up the chain didn't have the clout to really push back on some of the things that maybe Activision corporate were asking them for, like padding the numbers, I think. And I feel like a lot of the mechanics from Shadowlands were all designed to pad numbers, like the artificial time gating, giving you that whole battle pass like thing, but then not letting you progress it because the story had to unlock parts of it, but the story didn't exist yet because they hadn't patched it in. Like, it was so weird that when the whole Covenant system, like, you had this whole battle pass like thing where like there was all these rewards that you could see, but you just couldn't get because they were just artificially gated. So like, I've never bounced off an expansion as hard as I bounced off Shadowlands. Like, I did the first tier on normal with my guild, and I was just like, I just don't have the will to carry on. Like, there's just, I just don't want to exist in this world. I don't care about the story. I don't care about the jailer. None of it makes any sense, and it
nobody
never ended
did.
up making any sense. Yeah, like, just there was just nothing to it, kind of.
Yeah,
The stuff that was fun was still fun. Like, Mythic Plus was still fun. Raiding was still fun. PvE was still fun. Like, it's always fun, right? But like all the sort of stuff revolving around Shadowlands was just so dreary and I don't know how to describe it. Uninspired, man. It was just like they were just sort of going through the motions. Yeah, we need a borrowed power mechanic. Yeah, we need our artificial engagement numbers padding mechanic, which was the whole Covenant grinding system and all that kind of stuff. And none of it was fun. None of it mattered, But this expansion is like, it's like a breath of fresh air. It's like they've really changed their design philosophy and sort of like, yeah, let's just give everyone loads of stuff to do. Let's not artificially gate them. Let's, I still haven't finished. I'm sure most people have probably finished all of the tracks now, because they've got like the whole renowned tracks and the
Oh, I'm nowhere close.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know, but I've been playing relatively casually more recently because I've been really busy at work. But I always felt like there's always something to do, in the game.
Oh,
there's
yeah.
always something to do, and it's fun stuff to do, and there's meaningful rewards to get, and the quests are more interesting. The characters are more interesting. Like Razageth is more interesting than the jailer, even though like it's basically just like the first tier boss, and then she's gone now, and it's kind of like, well, I was more interested in Razageth's story arc than I ever was in the jailer's story arc.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's just so much to speak about with regards to why I prefer this expansion, but I think it's the design philosophy more than anything. The doubling down on, variety. The new talent trees are great. It sort of calls back to the way WoW used to feel, and new abilities gives the classes some new flavor and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas Shadowlands just felt like it just felt tired. It felt like the game was getting tired. So like there's like new energy in this expansion.
Yeah.
And I think that sort of summarizes the way I feel about it. WoW still has its problems, like you mentioned. Like I think WoW continues to be incredibly hard for new players to come in because it is such a mess when you do Exile's Reach and then you get spat out into Battle for Azeroth, and it's like, what the hell's going on? What am I doing? And there's none of that nostalgia from like if you're a Warcraft 3 player. It's like, you don't end up in Azeroth. You end up in random, island that, you won't be familiar with because it wasn't really covered.
Yeah, why am I in Borealis? What's going on?
Yeah, stuff like that, and I think they really do need to revamp the old world, Kalimdor, Eastern Kingdoms, and create a sort of flow for new players to keep the game healthy, because people are getting old. I'm getting old. I don't have time to play as much anymore.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, mine tank in my guild's like 18 years old, and I'm like, man, I remember when I was 18. Yeah, it's like I was playing WoW when I was 18, right? And I remember like there'd be 30-year-olds in my guild, and I'd be thinking like, man, I wonder if I'll still be playing WoW when I'm 30.
Right?
It's like don't they have kids? Don't they have jobs? It's like, here I am still playing WoW. So yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's in a good place, and it's moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to celebrate that. I really wanted to like training a puppy, when it does something good, you give it praise, right? Yeah, do more of this.
Yes.
Don't pee on the rug anymore.
Yes.
You can have a treat, and that's a nice review score. So I'm trying to train Blizzard to know what kind of stuff we want from the game.
That's a Herculean effort in and of itself, trying to train that behemoth. But I think you're right, because what you're describing, I think, is what a lot of the community has felt and seen. Right, everywhere I've looked, things have been generally very positive, and to go deeper than that, I think a lot of us sense or feel like that transition between the older previous leadership team versus the current leadership team. We found out a lot about Alex Afraziabi and kind of the older group there that just kind of wanted a holy shit moments but didn't have a way to follow it up. And it felt like Shadowlands to me was sort of like, we have to get this done. We have to put some answers together. We have to tie a bow around this. However kind of slapdash we got to do it. That way we can be done and then move on to this other thing that we're really hyped about, we really feel good about, and we have total control of, being sort of like Steve Danuser and kind of that new creative team. And now you get Dragonflight, which it's beautiful visually. You touched on that. Like the art direction for this has been unbelievable. and it continues to be. And the game systems, dragon riding, right? I don't know. They have backed themselves into a corner because no one's ever going to want to let that go. And the variety of activities where I don't feel super pressured to do it. Like I'm not having to blast out 20 renown levels because I need some, glyph or some weapon enchant or some sort of a thing to make me competitive in raid. I don't have to worry about that anymore. Now, my raid leader might not like that. I don't know, because I'm not logging in and doing as much stuff as I used to do. But as a working parent, like you mentioned, I appreciate that because I do not have time like I used to have. So having the ability to kind of jump in and just pick up some things, so it's so much more fun. And at the end of the day, that it's what's supposed to be. But I know that you talked about raiding. Same thing. I think we're just a couple bosses behind you, but you had mentioned something about how your guild is different, or something about something you wanted to mention about that.
I don't know if other guilds do this, but like this is the first guild I've been in that does this, and they advertise themselves as like casual, right?
Yeah.
They basically like they get to a boss and then they just extend the raid lockout until they've killed it.
Okay.
So that they don't re-clear ever. So like I missed them killing Razageth because I had to be somewhere. So instead I'm killed Razageth, and we just sort of like we get to a boss and then just extend the raid lockout until we kill this thing, So that's what we've been doing Razageth now for 3 weeks.
Yeah, and
we only raid once a week.
That's been successful. So, like getting all the way through.
I mean, so far,
Then I guess it works.
Yeah, I guess so. I've never seen a guild do this before, and I guess it's because they're they're casual and they get the gear from Mythic Plus, so it's not like they need to grind the raid or anything. But yeah, is that how guilds do things these days? I'm out of touch. I've never known a guild to do it.
I know that we will do that after a certain, like if we feel like we farmed all the other bosses so many times that there's nothing new to gain and people have done their Mythic Plus stuff and all of that, and like we're banging like if we're on Razagath on heroic and we've cleared that place like 10 times, we'll do it. We'll extend it until we clear it, but we won't do it like as a matter of course. But maybe some others do, as long as it works. That's what matters.
Yeah, it works.
It
works.
How long have you been with your guild?
I only joined this guild fairly recently. At the start of the expansion, actually. So yeah, probably like December, actually.
All right.
Really nice guild, really cool people, just really chill. Like my old guild I was in is just a bit cliquey, and they want to push things hardcore, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just too old.
That's it.
Too old and too tired, and I just want to go at a slower pace now. These guys raid once a week, which is ideal for me. Oh, actually, that's why I couldn't do the podcast any later, because today's a raid day.
Yeah.
I completely forgot. Yeah, so that's why. But yeah, I'm just loving WoW. Like I haven't played this much WoW, since this much. Like with this level of frequency since probably the start of Battle for Azeroth. I really enjoyed Battle for Azeroth, and I know a lot of people didn't.
I liked
but I
it.
actually quite enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Overall, I think Battle for Azeroth is a sort of a story of missed opportunities. I feel like Warfronts could have been something more with a few tweaks. I feel like Islands could have been something more with a few tweaks. But Shadowlands just had nothing. There's just no saving that expansion.
Again,
maybe that's harsh,
I think a universally shared opinion is I have never seen so many people jump out of an expansion as they did with Shadowlands and Battle for Azeroth. For its warts, I think it was a solid expansion as well. But yeah, nobody cared about the jailer. I think people finally just felt the whole thing was so oppressive and just overbearing. Like, okay, what are we doing with Sylvanas? We're still going. Okay, next raid, what's going on? Okay, Sylvanas. Okay, we're still going. Okay, the jailer. What's the jailer? Nobody knows what the jailer is. Okay, we're going on to the next. Oh, fuck this, I can't take this anymore.
Dude, like I like something. I know I played a fair bit of Shadowlands. I did the first tier, and then I did come back for Zereth Mortis and stuff, but I never did the grind of what's it called? I can't remember what it's called now. The Maw, man.
Oh,
That whole Maw thing where there's just
awful.
loads of stuff. What were they thinking? You know, there was just like, it was so tough just to get around in there, but the rewards did not match the effort you had to put in.
Yeah.
You know, I think like it could have been cool if there was something good for doing it, but there was just nothing really that good for doing it. And I was just like, you know, you're gonna dismount me and you're gonna punish me for walking around and stuff. It's like, okay, well that's fine, but you know, give me something good for it. And they just didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just so many weird decisions went into that expansion, but
mismanagement.
It's over now. It's over now.
Yeah, it's over. Breathe a sigh of relief. Drink the cool waters of Onaran Plains and wash yourself clean.
Wash yourself clean.
Don't have to deal with it anymore. So I think, you know, generally, I think we all seem to agree coming in at this point in time, Warcraft's been in a good place. I think 10.05, you know, sort of our first little sub patch, you know, well received so far. And then next up, they recently announced that our next patch, 10.07, Return to the Forbidden Reach, is coming out here right around the corner. So this episode drops. This episode should come out the 20th of March. So the next day, the 21st, we're going back to the Forbidden Reach, which if you are a Drakthir, you've been there. If you're not, this is going to be new. And this is where we're also going to get our Orc and Human Heritage armor, which I'm very excited about the Human Heritage armor. And we'll have our, I don't know, maybe first controversial piece of gear in the Onyx Amulet, which I don't have any problem with. I know there's we just talked about getting rid of the Shadowlands sort of stink, and there's a little bit of that perhaps on the Primordial Stone system that's going to have an interplay here. But overall, this seems like another solid little content patch. I'm pretty excited to go back and see some new puzzles and challenges and different places to go. But for you, anything about 10.07 that you're excited about coming up here in the next 10 days?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really intrigued about the lore delivery. Some of the stuff that's been data mined by Wowhead is really intriguing. Like there's a whole rumor mill swirling about Evoker's gonna be able to unlock a new spec. I don't know if you've seen this. But yeah, someone data mined quest text where Evokers have sound effects for, you know, not enough rage, you know, so are they going to be able to unlock new classes as part of the story? I mean, that it opens up a whole new dimension that WoW could go in. You know, could there be a quest chain where I could unlock, I don't know, an undead druid or something, I don't know, in the future, because they're adding new class combinations. But I think Blizzard have said in the past that like some class combinations would need more lore to explain them, maybe. So like, for example, if you're gonna have an undead druid, which I don't think's outside the realm of Warcraft lore friendliness, because crazier things have happened, right?
Not anymore.
Yeah, and you know, the Drust are undead druids anyway. So like, but if you're gonna deliver something like a Forsaken druid, you really need some good lore to explain that. So if we see like Evokers get a tank spec as part of this expansion, it's really exciting for me, because it's like, you know, the sky's the limit. What else could you do with that? You know, what other races could you bring in as part of that? I love how much story they're adding in the smaller patches now too. Like, so much flavor text came with the traders post. Sort of add context to the way the Horned Alliance are sort of feeling about each other now, with all the peace trees going on and stuff like that. I really like that attention to detail they're putting in, so I'm excited to see what more lore stuff they add, I guess. And transmog and all kinds of stuff. It's cool. I just so much content coming in. It's always something new to do.
The pace is incredible.
It really is impressive.
When they put out that, you know, release path, whatever they call that, the roadmap, and
they've never done that before.
No, and we looked at that and like, you guys are crazy. There's no way they're going to be able to keep this up, and yet here we are looking at steady releases, and 10.07 already coming out in, you know, mid and late March here, and I mean that's a couple of not insignificant patches already coming to the game, where kind of to your point earlier, Shadowlands, granted the world was going to hell, and it sounds like inside and outside of Blizzard it was just all a mess, but it took us forever, it felt like, to get anything. And so now we're feasting on all of this incredible content. You mentioned the transmog, human legacy armor, heritage armor, like that's been big in my book, something I've waited for a long time, modeling at least one of these shoulders off of Varian Rin's armor. I'm very excited about. Now, I think part of this too is I always go back to my love of being just a basic ass human in sort of heavy armor, and I'm been a warrior through and through all these years. And maybe it's because growing up out here in the US, like, I'm so far removed from knights and castles and all that kind of stuff. I don't know, if I was from, let's say, the British Isles, would I be less interested in this stuff because it'd be like, fuck, we see castles and this shit all over the place?
I don't know, man. Castles are cool, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe castles are a little bit less impressive for me. I mean, where I live in Germany, we basically live in a medieval town with a battlement.
Oh my god!
There's literally a battlement going around the town from medieval times, and like, you go down the road and there's literally like a huge castle on top of a hill. Yeah, I don't know. Europe's just like that. There's castles everywhere, so.
Yeah, you're just tripping over them, and we got to have rich guys, taking them brick by brick, like Xanatos, from Gargoyles, bringing them over. That's the only way we can get them.
Oh yeah. Oh man, I remember that. Gargoyles was sick. Wow, that's a nostalgia blast right there.
That was a badass show.
I think that's why I prefer, like, another reason why I prefer this expansion is it's back on Azeroth.
Yes.
Like Shadowlands is kind of like, I think these sort of spacey kind of things are cool to visit. Like, I think like Antares, for example, when they added that in Legion, I think that's like, it's cool to visit
as a patch.
And as a patch, yeah. But like as a whole expansion, I think it gets tiring. Like even the Burning Crusade kind of got tiring with the space stuff. Eventually, but like at least the Burning Crusade had like the Outland nostalgia, Warcraft 3 going for it. But yeah, I think Shadowlands was just way too out there. I think maybe like nothing felt consistent. It felt like nothing mattered because it's just like, oh yeah, the Shadowlands is basically the Matrix. All these realms are just dreamt up by some robot.
Yeah,
and nothing is consistent and nothing matters in Shadowlands. Death doesn't matter. The environment you're in isn't real because it's just some conjured realms. Man, wrong setting for an MMO. I don't know. Would have been cool to visit, not a whole expansion. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe
that's the lesson. Like, let's stay on Azeroth. We can jump out for a patch, but don't ever like take us away full time for years at a time. Because
just keep adding islands. I don't care.
There it is.
Just keep doing it. Make the planet bigger. There's still islands that we haven't charted yet, like Undermine, for example. Goblin homelands. Those aren't explored yet. There's so much more stuff they could do with Azeroth.
It's the whole backside of Azeroth thing.
Yeah, that too. Like, man.
Is there another
Hopefully
side?
they've learned their lesson there. I don't know. We'll see.
I hope so. And that I think is a great transition into what was announced this week. And part of the reason why this timing could not have been better is obviously we've been wondering what comes after. We know that there's a big patch, like a tent pole, 10.1 coming down the road. And lo and behold, like out of the blue, there's no official announcement by Blizzard. And I don't know if somebody screwed up on a timing situation on this by getting a press release or something else out. But all of a sudden, we start seeing all of these posts on, we got a Taliesin and Evatel video on YouTube. We've got Wowhead posting a bunch of stuff. And all of a sudden, all this stuff pops up saying, patch 10.1, Embers of Neltharion revealed. And I'm checking my stuff. I'm getting messages. I'm like, what the fuck? Where did this come from? Like, okay, I guess we're doing this. And so here we are finding out that in patch 10.1, we're going to be exploring an entire new zone underneath, like the subterranean zone, which is something that, as you just mentioned, right? We have had them in Warcraft, but not like this. It's going to be a huge underground zone. They're calling it Zarelek Cavern.
Yes.
There's going to be a new raid, Aberrus, the Shadowed Crucible, which is Neltharion's laboratory, and that's going to be fun. New Mythic Plus dungeon rotation, which I know you love a whole lot.
Yes.
New outdoor content, including another new renowned faction, some dragon riding updates, and what they're calling Farak Assault, and some other system updates and whatnot. So we get news that here we are, big patch, usual stuff coming through. We knew there was going to be a new zone, a new raid, and all this other kind of stuff. But then I look, and the first thing I see is there was a group interview being posted by Wowhead, and lo and behold, who's in that group interview? But Jez Corden from Windows Central. And I'm like,
Yes.
So my first reaction was, hell yeah, finally, because I know you and I have talked a few times, and I'm always wondering, like, where's Jez? Jez has got to get in on this, because the Windows Central gang, that's kind of like the Microsoft block of things, and like I still feel like we're all gonna be one big happy family here before too long. We'll talk about that later, but I loved seeing, number one, that you got into this, but two, you got some really good questions in, I thought. So I hope you don't mind, but can you kind of take us through what that experience was like, getting in that interview, maybe what happened, and then some of the questions that you got in?
Yeah, so I've actually been in group interviews with Warcraft before. I think we were on one before they announced Dragonflight last year, I think. But yeah, they've been pretty cool to us. Their PR team recently, which is
great.
It's a bit of a it's kind of lucky, really, because I'm a guy who I leaked Diablo's launch window and the fact that they were having a big marketing thing, and I even leaked the candle from the collector's edition. So it's always a gamble when I post these exclusives from information I get passed.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, is this going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back? Because I don't want to get cut off, but it's also like, I'm a journalist and I get information which is in the public interest. I feel like I have to publish it.
That's it. Right? That's it. That's right.
Yeah. So we had all this stuff, and they did still come through for us, and I thought that was really cool of them.
Yeah.
And we got in, and the way they conduct these interviews, typically on Discord these days, they just get everyone in a big Discord channel, or actually no, this one was on a Zoom call, but I've been in interviews that I think the Overwatch stuff we did was in a Discord. So yeah, every game, everyone uses a different method. But yeah, big Zoom call, everyone taking it in turns to ask questions. Blizz Planet was in there, MMO Champion was in there as well, Wowhead were there, Tech Radar was there, which is I wasn't expecting them to be there, and some of the sites, and that was one session. I think there was another session as well. So yeah, they basically briefed the entire press, and I think some YouTubers were in there as well in another session maybe, and some Twitch streamers and stuff like that. And yeah, I was not expecting them to announce a new cave. I had no inkling that was coming. Sometimes I know things, but I knew Dragonflight was a thing. I knew they were going to add Drakthir. Man, I wish I'd leaked that. But yeah, that would have been crazy amount of traffic. But it's also like, do you really want to leak something like that and ruin the surprise? Yeah, because there's that aspect of it as well. I don't know. It's such a balance.
I do love people withholding spoilers just for the sake of me. I love surprises, but I will tip a cap to journalistic integrity at the same time. I understand that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I don't. It's like leaking the candle in the collector's edition Diablo is like, yeah, who cares about that? But like leaking the whole expansion, I was just kind of like, man, that's kind of mean,
That might get you cut off.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that might get you cut off. So I held off on that, and also I wasn't 100% sure because it was weird because the information I had about Drakthir was like, it's a race, but it's also a class. I was like, well, that doesn't make much sense. And I was just kind of like, is this maybe incorrect information? I was kind of like unsure about it, But anyway,
Yeah.
I digress. So we're in this interview, and people taking in turns and stuff. Every time I do an interview with them, every single time I ask about glyphs. Every single time.
And God bless you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because, dude, where are my minor glyphs at? And
yes.
I was with the people in the interview. Steve Danuser, who's in charge of the narrative, and also Morgan Day. I think Morgan Day. I'm not sure what his role is, like game director maybe or something. Something like that.
Yeah, he's associate game director.
Yeah, game director, that's right. So like we're in there with him, and like every single time I ask them, where's my minor glyphs at? And I always get the same reply, but I'm still gonna ask every single time because I really want more. But
yes,
lo and behold, they are adding a new minor glyph next expansion, next patch, which for demon hunters only though, where you actually for glaive throw, you throw your own glaive rather than that green magical one.
Nice.
Which I think is cool.
Yeah.
But they seem really nervous about glyphs because I was like, why can't we have more glyphs? I want more demons. Because there's a few glyphs that let you change the demon skins and stuff. And they were just like, oh, we don't want to confuse players. We don't want to confuse players. And I'm like, I'm sitting there thinking, dude, the game has like 5,000 spells in it. What's a few more?
Seriously,
don't want to confuse players. Come on, man.
This is the ultimate customization.
Yeah, it's customization, and I think like there are ways you can do it where it won't frustrate the amount of stuff that people have to learn. But like, there's plenty of stuff that could do that won't impact things. I think like if you give people more skins for the imp or the succubus or whatever, I don't think it's gonna break the game.
No.
But anyway,
no, and I'm glad that you asked this question because the question that I always wanted to ask Ian Hazacostas, and when I finally got the chance to interview him last year, the question that I had was about adding an alternate interrupt for warriors that I've worn for years. So instead of like the shoulder block or the pummel that we do now, I want a headbutt because like nothing will fuck up a spellcaster worse than like just bam right across the bridge of the nose. Like that'll do it every time.
That'd be cool.
And even he mentioned, he was like, maybe we could do that as a glyph. And I'm like, I'm talking about. That's perfect because that doesn't change really any. I mean, maybe, you got to spend time and you got to budget the animation and the art or whatever it is. So you do have to like figure out which resources go to something like that, I suppose. But I love that you ask about these cosmetic glyphs because there's an unlimited number of things that they can do. And I honestly think people forget about this entire system because you never hear anyone else talk about it.
I was proper like when they said they were gonna revamp professions for this expansion. I was like, oh yeah, that means we'll get more minor glyphs, and they didn't add any. I think, well, maybe they added like one or something. I don't know, but I don't know. But the other question I asked was, I also wanted to ask them about the lore about PvP, right? Because one of the things that bugs me in games is when they don't bother to explain game mechanics in the context of the game. Now, and Blizzard, like, I realized that the gameplay has to come first, right? So, just for example, it would be weird if like, because in the lore, like, do we even know what the status of Ultra Valley is in the lore, for example?
No.
The Horn Alliance still fighting over it after 15 years.
As far as I know.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of vague and undefined, right? But it's that kind of stuff that they've given so much attention to explaining why the Horn Alliance aren't at each other's throats as much as they were. But there's this weird potential where PvP could be left behind, right? And world PvP. Yeah. Like a couple of expansions ago, they really tried to reinvigorate world PvP with all the systems they added to
the war mode and all that.
Yeah, war mode and stuff. But war mode hardly makes sense when there's no war anymore, right? So I was just kind of thinking like, I really wanted to ask them like, what are their plans for that? And also I just kind of weaved in a suggestion there. They could make it where there's a shadow war going on, and maybe there's some members of the Horned Alliance who just can't let go, and they just keep the war going in secret. even though it's like peace treaty on the surface, like, almost like a Cold War, right? Like James Bond kind of shit. I don't know. But and they seemed receptive to that idea. And I think one thing that I think it was Steve Danuser who said it, or maybe it was Morgan Day. I'm not sure off the top of my head. But one of them said something really interesting, and they were like, before, the exception to the rule would be that Horde and Alliance characters collaborating. And he mentioned Thrall and Jaina working together to free Bane, for example. Even while the big war was going on, those characters worked together, and he was like, that was the exception to the rule. But maybe now that the Horde and Alliance are working towards this peace treaty kind of thing, maybe the exception can be characters, going off and fighting each other in secret who just can't let go. Because I can't imagine. Oh man, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. The Worgen faction leader. What's his name?
Greymane.
Yeah, Greymane. I can't imagine him just letting go.
No.
Or forgiving Sylvanas, for example.
Yeah.
I can't imagine anyone forgiving Sylvanas for that matter. But there's gonna be characters who've been seriously wronged, who just can't let go and probably shouldn't let go, moralistically speaking. So maybe they could become the focal points of world PvP or battleground PvP, and these small scales little stories, because they have been paying so much attention to these small side stories which explain away some of the gameplay changes they're doing, like cross faction guilds, for example. It's another major feature coming in this patch.
That's right.
So yeah, that was my other question that I asked. I had a bunch of others, but there wasn't enough time to ask them.
It's tough. It's tough fighting for time in those group interviews.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Especially with a group as big as yours was.
Yes.
I only had a couple other people, but you had like 8 people in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. Yeah.
Well, I like this question in particular because it's something that I've talked about on this show quite a bit. Is I am hardcore Alliance through and through. Like, I don't, when we've talked about cross faction teams in the past, I kind of laugh. I'm like, no fucking way, I'm never doing this. There's no, we're always Alliance. That's always the way it's gonna be. When Battle for Azeroth came on, when that first shot of the cinematic, that overhead, like 10,000 foot view going over, watching the battle playing out over Lordaeron, like I no lie, I peed my pants, 2 drops at least, because I was so excited that here we are, we're doing this, we're actually doing this, we're fighting the fight. And then of course Anduin and the whole thing, and he looked amazing, and like I was with it, and I'm like, yes, this is great. And I go and I look at Twitter, look at wherever else, and people are like, man, this is dumb. Why are we fighting? This is stupid. I'm like, it's Warcraft. Like, we have to have this. Like, no, this is dumb. Nobody wants this. And people really rebelled against this idea that the factions were directly engaged in a broader way. And so I love coming out of this where your question is very apropos, because now it's this sort of peaceful time between the factions, but there's still stuff happening. And how do you explain that? And then now with the announcement that in 10.1 you're going to have cross-faction guilds, which was kind of like, I don't know, one of those never gonna happen things that now it's gonna happen. I feel like I'm gonna have to let this one go or something. But does that impact your team at all? Like, are you guys talking about cross-faction guilds? Is that something that's been on your list of things that you want?
We already have. Well, this is funny. We already have sort of a cross-faction guild in a way. We have like a community, a Mythic Plus community, which is cross-faction. So like, and a Discord where everyone's cross-faction and everyone's got cross-faction alts already, because I play on an RP server, right? And
oh, you're hardcore.
I'm hardcore, man. Yes. I got a horde tattoo now as well. Did I tell you about that?
You got what?
I got a horde tattoo last in January.
You did?
I did, yeah. I'm all in, man.
Nice.
I love this game. I mean, this game.
Wrong faction, but I love the tattoo.
Yeah, but it's
you got the add-ons on the whole thing? Like, you like telling people like who you are, and you do the whole thing in character, and like you.
Oh no, I don't really do that. I used
Oh.
to. I used to do it a lot. I just don't have time these days. But like RP was so because I like writing. Right, I'm a writer, and like there's no lazier way to write a story than RP. Because you don't have to describe the characters, don't have to describe the environment. You just write the dialogue, right? So for me, it was kind of like a way to do some creative writing, but lazier.
Yes.
But that's the way. That's what I got out of it, you know, as a writer. But anyway, I don't really do it anymore. It's just not time. But most RP takes place on Alliance side. I don't know why people want to RP human a lot, which I think is boring. Like you can be any kind of cool crazy race, you know, like an alien or a troll or a gnome or something. You want to RP a human, like you are in real life. I don't know, but
we're the most boring people on Earth. I'm telling you.
Yeah, for real. but yeah, we're all guilds already cross faction. So you know, our guild leader plays as human priest and also raids as his Tauren druid, and it just kind of brings that home. You know, it was gonna happen. You know, I think like the way faction imbalance has become over time, and it's eased up since they allowed people to group together no matter what faction they were on. I remember like when I first started playing WoW for the very first time, my friend, because me and my two friends from school, we all decided, yeah, we're gonna play WoW together. That's what it's definitely what we're gonna do. And we went to game at 7 a.m. to pick up our copies, and then we, you know, skipped school for 2 weeks playing the game. And but my friend was just so stubborn. He wouldn't play the game unless he could be a gnome.
A gnome.
So yeah, and he wanted to be a gnome.
Got it.
He wouldn't play because he was a gnome in some other MMO before. And he had to be a gnome, and because like, you know, we weren't as invested in MMOs as he was. I really wanted to be an undead warlock, but he wanted to be a gnome. And he's so stubborn. I was like, fine, I'll play Alliance. So I started off as Alliance, funnily enough. But there's none of those problems now. Like he could have been a gnome, and I could have been an undead warlock, and we still be able to group together and play together. Like it's kind of it, but at the same time, it was kind of important that WoW had that distinction and has that identity because it's so unique to WoW. Like other MMOs have these factions, but they're like soft factions. It's like, you know, like in Destiny, you've got factions, but who cares about Destiny's factions? And in like other MMOs, like you know, Final Fantasy 14 or Elder Scrolls Online, they're the factions. You choose a faction at the start of the game, but who cares about factions? They've got like Horde and Alliance. The dichotomy is absolutely iconic. So I appreciate that people are nervous about that being eroded. But that was another question from the interview that someone asked, like, how are you gonna preserve some of that stuff? And like they still really want to do like the faction specific quests, faction specific storylines, like heritage armor. They're doubling down on that kind of stuff. And you know, and they were open to the idea of having a shadow faction war, you know, keeping that sort of iconic Horde versus Alliance rivalry going on in the shadows, even if for gameplay reasons, you know, guilds become, you know, cross faction, because, you know, guilds of cross faction in the lore already. Like Twilight's Hammer cult, they don't care what faction you're from.
No.
You know, when you're fighting them, they're just like, yeah, we want to end the world. We don't care what race you are. Come and sign up. You know.
That's right.
So yeah, it kind of makes sense for the game, but I do hope they do keep that flavor though, because it's iconic. It's absolutely iconic. Horde versus Alliance.
It is, and I don't know that we'll ever see that kind of direct conflict that we did in Battle for Azeroth for one, because I think it was generally pretty unpopular and people just were waiting for it to end. Like, okay, we know there'll be something and then they'll work it out. It's like people had already sort of just gotten over it before it had even happened. And then now we have, with the cross-faction guilds, there's going to be more cooperation than ever, and so it's going to be super awkward, if we ever have like a, burning of Teldrassil type moment, which I doubt that we will, but, something like that. People be like, oh, how do you look at that guild mate of yours after like this tragedy is happening? Like, oh, sorry, not my horde.
I'm in like two minds about it, because I love that cutscene where Sylvanas burns the tree down.
It's intense.
It's awesome, but at the same time, it's like, man, I know they're not going to be able to resolve this while also resolving the gameplay, because it was obvious to me that they were gonna have to go cross faction because of how imbalanced the factions have become, and how, like, it's kind of embarrassing when you get so many eyeballs on the game from stuff like Twitch, and all the guilds are horde. Like all the mythic world first raiders are horde.
I've noticed.
And that sort of, and it has like a cascading effect. It's like all the people who see that for the first time on Twitch, they'll be like, oh, all the coolest streamers or whatever, they're all horde, so I'll be horde as well. But now with cross faction guilds, that doesn't matter anymore. And I think that's healthier for the game in today's times, you know. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. But I do think that they need, for the sake of WoW's identity, they really should do something with that, with the PvP aspect of it, and keep it grounded in lore, and not just be like, oh well, we're just ignoring PvP and it's there for gameplay reasons. It's not in the lore, but there's so much potential there. I think
the endless shadow war.
Endless shadow war. I think I really like that idea.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. And I guess we'll see, because with 10.1, right, that'll be official. We'll have cross-faction guilds at that point. The race for world first will be on. We'll have all of the raids, I think, still releasing at the same time, like they did before, which I know that some of the top people were not really excited about, because it screws up their heroic week, or what. I can't remember who it was, but somebody had a rant about it this past week. I don't really care. I love that it kind of threw them into chaos a little bit, because I don't know. I'm just awful that way. I thought it was kind of fun to watch them sort of scramble. But we're looking at somewhere between May and July. It seems to be the speculation for this patch, but that could be, kind of to your point, the first time where we're going to see world first guilds potentially going cross faction. And then what will the makeup look like then? That I am actually kind of interested to see if that has an effect, because they've been pretty locked in for a long time. But the other big thing that, and literally, and you've touched on it already, is the zone itself. So Zarelek Cavern is this enormous zone that's essentially underneath, it looks like kind of the northwest sort of area of the Dragon Isles, and it's huge, number one. But number two, again, knowing that dragon riding is the jam, you can fly down into it from the surface. Like, there's no loading screen. You like fly through a bored hole or there's like several entry points. But one, that might be the coolest way to enter a zone of all time. Well, maybe the jump to Skyhold as a warrior, that was pretty fun. But I think that alone is pretty sweet. But two, having another huge zone that's this varied as well, just sort of looking at some of the press photos and stuff like that, we're finally getting, in my mind, that subterranean zone that we've been wondering about since the Nerubian Empire, like way back when. We talked about.
Yeah, I'm still salty that didn't happen.
That was huge. Like, if you go back to, anybody that's been around knows this, but if you go back to the Wrath of the Lich King days and all of the underground stuff with Nerubians, that was intended to be like a whole underground zone that they scrapped, and that was going to be intense. So now I'm pulling this up here because I'm looking at these photos. It's interesting to see how there's multiple environments. Something that I always wonder about, whether or not it's going to be one type of zone. But when you look at least the press photos, and I know it's on the PTR, so if you get a chance, you can go on the PTR and you can go see it for yourself. But it's varied. There's the classic stalactite, stalactite. It looks like the underground zone that we had in Cataclysm, where all the rock folk were. But looking through this, like Deep Home, that's what it's called, Deep Home. That's right. But looking through this, I didn't think that I'd really care about an underground zone, but a gigantic underground zone that you can drag and ride into and fly around, and there's all this other kind of crazy stuff going on. I think I'm more excited about this than I thought I was going to be.
Yeah, I think it looks awesome.
Yeah,
I'm kind of weird because I do like some of the zones that a lot of other people don't. Like I really like Deep Home, which is also a big cave, and I really liked I can't even remember what it's called now. The underwater zone.
Nashatar?
No, not Nash. Vashir from Cataclysm.
Yeah.
I really, really like those two zones. I think a lot of people thought were, kind of, they didn't like them so much. Vashir especially is very controversial.
Oh yes.
But, I really like that zone. But I'm also like, I'm also into marine life and stuff like that. I don't know. But it's like, it goes back to what I said earlier, that some of these more exotic environments, they're cool to visit. I think if an entire expansion was underground, you start missing the sky, right? Did like a dwarf expansion, for example, and it was like, the whole expansion takes place in caves under the ground, and it revolves around, I don't know, the dwarfs and I don't know, some other. Does Horde have an underground race? Not really, I suppose.
Like some sort of goblin mining operation.
Yeah, maybe. Like Venture Co joins the alliance or something.
Yeah.
But joins the Horde, sorry. But yeah, it's gonna be really cool to visit. And also it's kind of, is this the first time they've done a zone that was just an addition to the world that you didn't have to, that wasn't instanced? Because stuff like Mechano, what's it called now?
Mechagon,
yeah, that was an instance, right? You couldn't physically fly there, or am I wrong about that?
No, I think you could fly up there without an instance.
Okay, fair enough.
I think you could do that one. There's been some other smaller ones. I'm trying to think of some other ones, but it is rare.
Thunder was instant, wasn't it?
What's that?
Throne of Thunder. I don't know. Isle of Thunder, back man.
Isle of Quel'Danos, way back in BC. I think
Yeah.
That might have been something.
That was pliable. Yeah.
But yeah, it's rare.
Does that count? Since that whole area is instanced.
Yeah.
Thinking about it. But yeah, it's kind of cool because one of the things they mentioned in the interview was they wanted it to be an addition to the Dragonflight experience and not replace the existing zones. So like one of the things they mentioned as well, they're going to expand upon the activities in the current zones. So like like the soup stuff and the other things, the Grand Hunts or whatever. They mentioned that they're looking at improving those and keeping those relevant too for people who like doing them. So I think that's really cool because one thing that I think often gets annoying about WoW is like as the expansion progresses, the bits of the expansion become completely irrelevant, right? Like towards the end of Shadowlands, you basically spend 99% of your time in Zereth Mortis. Like the rest of the expansion became defunct. There was no reason to go to Korthia anymore. There's no reason there's no reason to ever go to the Moor, really. But like, a lot of this stuff just sort of got left behind, and I think it's cool that they're trying to keep the whole of the expansion relevant because again, it's kind of the point of the expansion is the Dragon Isles are like almost like a character unto itself. It's this huge, massive, gorgeous zone, and it'd be a waste if like all of a sudden all we did now was spend time in Zaralek Heaven. Maybe Hearthstone, maybe go back to Valdrakken to check the Ocean House, and then go straight back into the cave because that's the point where it stops being a visit to the cave and starts being like, okay, now I live in the cave, and I'm going to live in this cave for the next 6 months. I think that's the wrong approach. So I think it's they're being a lot more thoughtful about some of this stuff, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, and of course, no new zone would be complete without some denizens that we come in contact with. And the Drogbar are making a return, giant trollish looking guys, if folks remember in the past. But we're also getting these new little guys. They're called Niffin, and they look like
Sniffin.
They look like some
they're
wild mole folk. Is it the mole folk they call them? But they're moles.
They're moles, yeah, and they can't see very well, so they smell everything, and they communicate by smell. So they sniff a lot, which is why they're called Niffin, I think. Niffin. That's what Morgan Day said, I think. And but yeah, it's they look really cool, and I already know people are going to be like, "Oh my god, allied race win!" You know?
Mm-hmm. that was going to be my question. Is this where we get the Niffin allied race before I get either my Vrykul or the Space Mummies or any one of the other ones we've talked about in the past?
Man, I want playable ogre so bad. Like, do you see that the new trading post pet is like a little ogre thing?
Yes.
Is that on Alliance too, or is it just Horde?
Oh no, we all get the same stuff, I think.
I saw that little ogre and I was like, man, this is the closest I'm gonna get to a playable ogre. So I bought that thing straight away.
Well,
it just followed me around, taunting me.
That's what people said about Pandaren too, and that started out as a pet and a joke, and you never know.
That's true.
You never know. You keep the hope alive. You know, I every expansion I'm like, this is the time I'm gonna be able to play a Vrykul warrior, and my dream will be complete, and then it doesn't happen, and then we get Drakthir, and people are like, who? What the fuck is a Drakthir? Oh well, now we got them, and we love them, and they're more customizable than any of the coolest cards you've ever seen. So yeah, well, maybe Drogbar. They'll split the difference. We'll get Drogbar instead. So we've got those, and then the other sort of centerpiece, which we had another one of these great cinematics from the cinematics team, and this was in connection to 1007 coming out with that, where we see the 3 remaining primal incarnates, and they go into their sort of visages, which all 3 of them, 10 out of 10, they completely crush these designs. It's just unbelievable. But you see them.
This is some of the best tier they've ever made. The priest tier is absurd. It's so good. It's like, as a warrior, I know people are kind of split on this one. I absolutely love it. I all the tints, all 6 of them, 10 out of 10. Give me all of them. I'll take them. If I got to do PvP, which I never do, I will do PvP for one of those sets. They're all beautiful. So beautiful good. Sets. So good. So we have that cinematic, which basically sets up where we're going, I think, raid-wise, which is into Neltharion's laboratory. And ever since we stepped foot onto the Dragon Isles, there has been, and I really appreciate this, there's really been this strong connection to that part of the story that happened so long ago, which was Neltharion's corruption, when he turned on the Dragonflights, how basically they had to use the vast chunk of their power to destroy him way back in Cataclysm, and that's where, they got depowered and have been hanging out ever since in their, I guess, funk. But now, going to Aberrus, the Shadowed Crucible, which is apparently where Neltharion was doing all his crazy stuff, where he came up with the Drakthir, where he communed with the old gods and began to turn, or made his turn, into Deathwing, away from Neltharion and into Deathwing. The Rathian, Sibelian, Abyssian, Black Dragonflight thing is going to continue on. And they gave us a preview of the zone and some of the bosses. I think if you look on the PTR, we have quite a bit more information, which I haven't looked a whole lot into, because I did see something about spoilers, and I'm like, maybe I'll just hold off for a second. But I'm really excited for this one from a lore standpoint, because it takes us to a point in time that I don't know that we ever really thought about before. Like, okay, he got corrupted, old gods, we got it, and he, went crazy and became Deathwing and had one of the greatest intro cinematics to an expansion of all time.
for you, looking at this as a fellow raider, does this raid get you excited? Is this like feeling like, yes, this is a good step in the right direction, we're heading to a cool place with a great story? Or is this not something that's on your plate?
Sorry, can you repeat that last little bit? Because someone will work a message.
Oh, no worries.
Okay.
Just is this raid something that you're looking forward to? Does the design does all this look great, or is this not something that something you're vibing with?
Man, it's like aggressively something that I'm intrigued with, because it's sort of, it's nostalgia of Blackwing Lair, basically. They mentioned Blackwing Lair, they mentioned Blackwing Descent, and
yes.
They actually, this isn't public. Am I allowed to say this? I don't know. But
Did it?
They showed us a presentation for 8.1, and I don't know if this has been data mined yet, but it will be data mined.
8.1 or 10.1?
10.1, sorry. 8.1? What timeline am I in right now? Someone get the bronze dragonfly. But yeah, they showed a presentation for 10.1. And one of the models that is coming back, maybe this has been data mined already. One of the models that is coming back is literally Ash Candy. Like
yes.
A new version of Ash Candy.
We have seen that, and it is fucking awesome.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, this is literally Blackwing Lair. It's Blackwing Lair reimagined. And like the Blackwing Descent was kind of Blackwing Lair reimagined as well.
Mm-hmm.
And those are two dungeons that I just really, really loved. I remember when I first went to Blackwing Lair the first time, and I actually failed. I dropped out of high school because of Blackwing Lair. I think I talked about that on the yeah. Raid leader was calling me up saying, "Oh, we need you for Neltharion," and I was like, "Oh man, I got exams," and he's just like, "Come on, Neltharion." I was like, "Yeah, you're right, Neltharion. Okay." So
true. That is true dedication. That is right up next to an ex-raid leader I had who raided on his wedding anniversary and ended up getting divorced. Like that's a true raider.
This is probably slightly unethical, but we had a guy who was raiding from he was a surgeon.
Oh God!
And he was raiding in the operating theater, man. Between jobs in surgery, and he said, "Oh, I got blood on the keyboard and shit." He's probably joking, but yeah, it was literally he sent pictures like raiding from the operating theater right now.
Nice.
But yeah, that's what this game does to people, man. That's what it does. But but yeah, I'm really excited about this. I mean, I always kind of all these sort of Blackwing dungeons of the Black Dragonflight. They always have this sort of like experimental thing going on, because Neltharion was like aggressively experimenting on his own kind and screwing them up. Remember Nalarak in Blackwing Descent? Like that whole fight is like super tragic, and that fight that was like with the blind dragon, that was like crazy, like, sort of weird and cool, and it's kind of like you're seeing the dragons are a very abused race. Wildly abused race, and it seems like we're gonna see a little bit more of that. Like I'm really excited about it. See what kind of twisted things we end up seeing in there. And also, I suppose it advances the Drakthir storyline a little bit, and gives us a bit more insight into Deathwing as well, and maybe also tease where the expansions are going to go. I saw this comment on Reddit, I think, and it's something I hadn't sort of considered before. But in the 10.1, is it 10.1 or 10.0.7 or whatever? But in the cinematic where you see Iridikron and the other two, I can't remember their names.
Farak and Vironoth.
Yeah, that's right. When you see them walk in, and their take on their visage forms, which by the way look supremely badass.
Oh, amazing.
They're talking about the Horde Alliance, and Iridikron says don't underestimate them. And I was like, man, is this? And this Reddit commenter was like, this is the first time a villain has ever shown any sort of respect for the Horn Alliance and sort of been like, had any ounce of cautiousness about him,
makes him so much more dangerous. Like, I'm afraid of him now.
Yeah, he's actually thinking about stuff. He's not just like, I'm the best, I can kill all of you, like jail. This guy's like, damn, he's actually got a brain. This could be this could be scary. This could be dangerous. He's like, he's, calculating. He's thinking about that.
Great way to put it.
There's no hubris about him, and it was so refreshing to see a villain like that. So like it almost gives you chills when you're thinking about it. Again, want to see more of him, and he's not even. We already know the final boss of this rage is well. Is this spoiler territory for you? I don't know. Some people get, some people don't want the spoilers, but like then it's like literally all over the place with data mining and stuff.
I mean, if it's in the raid, it's a raid boss. I mean, it's kind of hard to get around it.
Yeah, it's sort of hard to get around it. Yeah. But like, well, this raid's all about the Scout commanders, and the sacred. What is it called now? I can't remember. The sacred flame or something like that. The sundered flame. So that faction of Drakthir that's sort of rebelling, sort of. They're sort of like Drakthir supremacists in a way, I think. So they're trying to claim Neltharion's knowledge for themselves and stuff, and they're also in the Azov as well, trying to steal the Blue Dragonflight secrets.
Right.
And Steve Danuser mentioned the Blue Dragonflight storyline is going to be continued as well in this, and we got the Green Dragonflight story off in the background, and there's just so much stuff going on, and it's all stuff I'm interested in. So yeah. Long way of saying I'm really, really hyped for this patch. Yeah. From every angle, It's just it's so nice to be excited about the way the expansion's going, because I just did not give a shit about the jailer at all.
No. I don't know. No, and now we're getting cinematics where I'm like, you know what? I'm remaining invested in what's going to happen here. They're clearly a dangerous group, and we still don't understand a lot about the story and the relationship between the Dragonflights, or the aspects that we know, versus these primal incarnates, because one of the things that I really enjoyed up to this point, and you mentioned her earlier, is Razageth. Razageth being 1,000 times more interesting in one initial opening patch than the jailer was over the course of an entire expansion. Was really well fleshed out, like was terrifying in a lot of degrees, but had this sort of this taunting and this very aggressive adversarial relationship with Alexstrasza, and it never really was explained all that fully to me, like what the history was there. It was, there was the rejection of the Titan's gift versus the enforcement of the Titan's gift, and the various viewpoints on that. And I thought that was, again, kind of a way of adding that nuance of, was it good? Was it not good? I mean, we've always taken the Titan's word at, okay, they ordered these things, and this is how this came, and this is good, and they destroyed this, and this is great, blah, blah, blah. Maybe there's another viewpoint we haven't considered. Maybe there's something else we're like, oh, maybe that wasn't so good. Maybe that wasn't so great. And
I was just killing the mob earlier, and the mob said the Titans lied as it died. Like, well, what did they lie about? And some of the history of WoW that we know is through the lens of the way the Titans see things. And the elementalists and the primalists, they're sort of they're seeding this doubt, and it's like, is this doubt? It's almost like fake news. Who's delivering us the fake news here? Is it the old gods? Are they just trying to, are they just trying to get in our heads so they can corrupt everything and recreate the Black Empire? And there's that implication that the Black Empire wasn't that bad, actually. Apparently. Yeah, and it's like, well, who do you believe? It's that kind of doubt, and I suppose it's also kind of creepily relevant to our times as well, in a way.
It does kind of seep in.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Well, and to that point about the lens, right? Is the 1007 cinematic that we got, that we've mentioned a couple times. There's a point in here that I think really illustrates this well is to what you were saying about how in the past we get these, excuse me, in the past we've gotten these baddies that are like, yes, I'm the baddest, I'm the strongest, I'm the greatest, whatever, and they're just like wrecking machines, and that's just sort of how they go through the expansion. But now we get in this cinematic where there's a point in time where it's Vironoth, and she looks at the other two and has this like real grief-stricken expression that Razageth is dead, is gone. And there's this moment of reflection. That is not something that we typically see. That's that sort of intimate moment of exposure by
camaraderie almost.
Somebody's supposed to be bad. Like that looked like a character that I'm supposed to identify with. Like that's different. That's odd. And then don't underestimate the Horde and the Line. Okay, now that one's thinking too. Now the other one, Farak, he just wants to blow shit up, and God bless him. I
love that. Like they've got a whole mechanic dedicated to Farak being a psycho. Like right. the Farak assaults. Like the other two are like calculating and thinking about shit. Meanwhile, Farak's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna blow shit up. So you've got like literally 3 dimensions there, which is really, really cool. Where typically we just get the Farak.
Right.
We get like a character that's completely gone mad, or a character that's so egotistical that there's just like his hubris is their downfall every single time, and it just feels like every single aspect of WoW is getting sort of an elevated attention to it, elevated attention to detail. The end game's getting more detail. The delivery of the patches is more rapid, and the story's getting more detailed. Like some of those side quests in Dragonflight, like man, I was like, wow, I didn't play WoW to get feels. I play WoW for loot. And it's just that quest with the Dragonmaw dude.
Oh, Jesus!
Towards the end of his life, and I was like, my God, that hurts. what are you doing, Blizzard?
I'm feeling feelings. I'm
feeling feelings. Yeah, damn.
That's not supposed to happen. And that's, one of the things that I always preach about this game to other people when I talk about it is you'll be surprised at the places that it can take you, where you can go when, typically you're just looking for loot or doing this thing, and then you find yourself going off and doing the, like going way back into the ICC days, like the Bride and Brad quest line. With the soldier who's dying like way out there, and like I'm like, oh my God, like I'm feeling a thing, and like my black heart is melting. There's like something happening here. Like how did that occur? Right? You have these great moments, and I think with the team that we have in place, Steve Danuser, and his creative team, Taryn Gregory, who runs the cinematics, department, and they're just doing insane level work. It's just
cinematics of just gone up a level, and I think like Christy Golden, if that's her name, I can feel some of her influence in this, because I read the Sylvan. I was so desperate to get something out of Shadowlands, right? I was so desperate to get something out of that whole plot arc, which just had flickers of amazingness, but there was never that sort of cohesion that desperately needed to tie it together. Like I said earlier, like I really loved what they were trying to do with destroying the tree, and like if you like look at these events as by themselves, they're really cool. Like the whole the CGI cinematic where Anduin calls to the light at the Battle of Lordaeron, so amazing. But then when you step back and look at it in the context of everything else, it was just like none of this works that well, and I think maybe it was a case of too many chefs or something, spoil the broth. I don't know, but it feels like now they're sort of working towards delivering those epic climactic events like the burning of Teldrassil, while setting the groundwork for it to at least make sense. So like while I was trying to get something out of Shadowlands, I was trying to find some flicker of, well, why is Sylvanas doing this? What can I try and see where she's coming from in some way, somehow? And I bought the Christie Golden book.
Yes.
I think it's just called Sylvanas.
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
And dude, I am someone who hates reading. Which might come as a shock considering I'm a professional writer. I absolutely hate reading. I don't read any books ever. I despise it. And like, if it doesn't make me read something, I just sit there thinking this could have been a movie. We have the technology. Why are we still using?
Put it on Netflix.
Yeah, exactly. But like I said, I was so desperate. I bought the book, and again, the book was great. Actually, I really, really enjoyed the book, and without giving too much away, it goes into like Sylvanas' like a childhood and like with her siblings and stuff like that, and some of the relationships she had with Anduin, really plays out in the game in a way that you kind of need the book for the full context of stuff like why she calls him Little Lion and stuff like that, and
or how meaningful that is.
Yeah, it's way more meaningful when you have the book there as well, but it's kind of like it's only meaningful because Christie Golden was clearly given a set of challenges and be like, okay, please try and make this make sense. And it's sort of like the book comes after the fact almost a lot of the time. So like, but now it feels like we're leading from that place instead of the book fixing what was broken. The foundation doesn't need to be fixed. They're doing it the right way around this time. And some of the sort of emotional moments in the book that you'd need the book to get those moments. Now they're in the game with Dragonflight, which is really great to see. And I think some of that has to be Christie Golden, because she that is what I got. The most I got out of Shadowlands was that damn book. It wasn't the game, it was the book.
A testament to Christie Golden. She's been writing Warcraft, almost as long as Chris Metzen, I think, at this point, maybe even longer, since she was still doing it while he was gone. And
he's back now.
And he's oh, thank God. And
as a consultant or something.
Yeah, he's I think that's the perfect role for him at this point. Just come in, do some cool stuff, and then be like, I'm good. The Sylvanas book, very much, we talked about this on the show at the time, it very much felt like it was just designed to take all of these loose plot points and just like put them together into one. Like, let's give this some cohesion. And I remember back when the Shadows Rising book came out and we got a chance to interview Madeline Rue, the author of that book, and she talked about with us at the time how, you're given very specific, like, this has to happen in the book, like this moment, like you can have some other creative moments, but like these things absolutely have to happen because this book has to serve like all of these various purposes. So that Sylvanas book probably was more loaded in that way than anything. But yeah, Christie Golden being in-house for them on a daily basis for all of their franchises, along with the book writing ability that she has, is probably the best hire maybe that they've ever made. But yeah, feeling a little more feels in the story. One kind of final part of this I wanted to ask you about. Left in Battle for Azeroth, we always said it's a not old god expansion, because the entire time we're like, nope, no old gods, nope, no old gods. We're like, no, there's gotta be, like, look at all the stuff that's laying around here. Like, there's just littered with old god shit all over the yard. Like, there has to be not an old. And then, of course, at the end, we fight N'Zoth. In this expansion, there's all of these little hints and whispers, and now we're going into literally the place where Neltharion communed with the old gods and got corrupted. Do you think that we're going to see some sort of new old god, resurrected old god, echo of an old god, or is that just kind of a red herring?
Man, it's hard to say, because I think Blizzard does react to the community sentiment a lot, and I think like there probably is this sort of sentiment amongst people where it's like, are we gonna it's kind of like, oh well, this is obviously gonna go back to old gods again. And World of Warcraft is inexorably tied to the old gods. Like the old gods literally had a whole empire that spanned the entire globe,
Mm-hmm.
and their ruins and their presence can be felt everywhere, because like everyone in the cosmos is fighting over this planet, this world soul Azeroth,
Mm-hmm.
which is supposedly the most powerful world soul that anyone's ever known, supposedly. Which is why everyone's trying to get it. And so the big bad that we know of right now is the old gods.
Mm-hmm.
And the Burning Legion's been put back in their box for now.
Mm-hmm.
I highly doubt the Burning Legion's gone forever. We didn't see Sargeras's corpse, so as far as I'm concerned, he's probably almost certainly going to come back at some
Just
point.
off fighting Illidan forever.
Yeah, some cosmic space battle or something. But for now, like the antagonist that's lurking in the background is the old god. So yeah, I want to believe that they'll leave them parked for now. I want to believe that. I think like maybe they'll tease it and build up to it again, where we eventually do fight N'Zoth again, because I really felt like N'Zoth was wasted. Personally,
I hated that fight. I hated it.
I loved it. I love the old god. I'm such an old god stan. Like Yogg-Saron, I love Yogg-Saron. I love N'Zoth. I love Cthulhu. Fighting all those dudes. Like, I know old gods are an acquired taste. But I'm all about that stuff. So for me, like, yeah, it'd be great if it's old gods again. But at the same time, I appreciate, the communities might be a little bit fatigued about it. So maybe park it until you can build it up into a whole expansion about it, And they've got these elements lurking in the background, like, the Naifu lurking in the background. What's she doing? Ashara's still out there, lurking in the background. What's she doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's hints that N'Zoth may not be dead. Or maybe this was all part of his plan, because N'Zoth's supposed to be the super clever one, and like we talked about earlier, like if N'Zoth is so clever, why did he succumb to the basic hubris and the ego that almost every WoW villain seems to succumb to?
Mm-hmm.
So with the sort of smarter villain design that we seem to be seeing right now, with Iridikron and stuff like that, maybe they could work N'Zoth back into the story in a way that actually makes sense. Or hell, like the other old gods as well. Like, do we know if you fully kill an old god, do they not come back? Like, there's all this kind of stuff, these plot elements. And maybe I want to believe that they won't go ham all the way into making this another old god expansion. I want to believe that they'll resist the temptation to do that, and instead just sort of give us hints, hint at stuff. Maybe there could be, like, I don't know, an old god mini boss herald, like a herald or something, a void dude popping off or something. I don't know. I mean, there wouldn't be anything wrong with that. But yeah, I hope they do resist the temptation to make the final tier like another old god or something. I think that needs. N'Zoth needs a whole expansion dedicated to him, in my view.
Yeah.
Rather than just a patch. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
No, I'm on the same page with you in that I think the number one thing, at least for this expansion, at least as far as how they've built up the Primal Incarnates, is you respect them by keeping them the focus. If all of a sudden, like, an old god jumps in at the end, like, to me, it kind of disrespects these characters that you've now built up and people are connecting with, and we're looking at maybe a couple of patches dragging out where we're fighting them or picking them off one by one, or however this ends up playing out, where I think the sort of belief has been that Iridikron is going to be the final one. But if you have N'Zoth or somebody else swoop in at the end, kind of like what we had in Battle for Azeroth, I think that kind of undermines them a little bit. It undercuts their impact. And I hope that they resist the urge. We've seen now a couple of different ways we could go. With the narrative that the Black Empire may not have been what we thought. That's interesting. That opens a door for perhaps Return of the Black Empire. Maybe that's like a whole expansion idea. I've held on for a while that we're gonna have some sort of light versus void conflict before too long. I don't know if that's enough for an entire expansion, but I feel like that's where maybe Anduin's role comes back into the fold at some point as being this bridge between both, because we've seen him wield the light and tenderly void something going on. We've seen a little bit of both, and so I can see like that going off in another direction. So yeah, I hope they hold off, but man, the hints are everywhere.
They're pretty strong.
They're pretty strong, but we'll see. And overall, there has been, and we barely even touched on all of the stuff that's come out. It was just like an explosion of interviews and news and all these little bits and pieces and data mine stuff from the PTR. I mean, there is a ton of information already known about 10.1 Embers of Neltharion. So if you're so inclined, you can always go out there on Wowhead and check that out. You can go on the PTR, check it out for yourself. You can go in blind if you want to do that too. Although I will say is that depending on the prevalence of certain things that are being found, you may not be able to escape all of it. You're at the very least going to see me probably putting stuff on social media about the art because I can't get enough of it. I mean, I'm looking at the Warrior set right now. I'm like, that might be one of the top 10 sets of gear I've ever seen. And, you know, scrolling around and looking at the rest, I mean, the art team is just, God, they're on like fire right now. No pun intended, but they are crushing. So, y'all can go out there and see that. 10.1, we don't quite know, but like I said, based on the roadmap that we've seen, probably looking at, you know, May, June, July, somewhere in there. So overall, one more time, this will be season 2, patch 10.1. We have our new zone, Zerolite Cavern, our new raid, Aberrus the Shadowed Crucible. We'll have the Farak Assaults, the new Niffin Renown and Rewards. There'll be a new PvP season, a new Mythic plus dungeon pool, new dragon riding Drake, and probably some races and some other things in there. So a lot to come, and we will continue to check in on that and update as we go. The sort of the last thing that I wanted to talk with you about, because you're the perfect person to talk to about this, is the still pending Microsoft purchase of Activision Blizzard King.
Activision. Activision. That's what we call them.
I can almost get it out without tripping on my words here. This has been quite the slog. I don't know that any of us expected that it was going to be as tumultuous as it has been. You know, when we first heard that this was being announced, of course, all of us on the Blizzard side, not all of us, I can't speak for everyone, but I think a lot of us were very excited to see this because of where Blizzard has been, the direction that Activision had been taking it. Not very happy. Microsoft seemed like a good parent company for all of this to sort of set right some wrongs. And it's just been going through regulatory hell at this point. Sony, as you and I talked about, seems to have come out as, you know, one of the most vocal opponents to this whole thing. There are, you know, elected officials who have no idea how video games work or any of this stuff, and they're jumping in the mix and making things more difficult. So as somebody who is, I think, very close to the situation, what can you tell us about where this stands and some of the challenges that we've been seeing, and perhaps your level of optimism about this deal actually getting through?
Well, you know, you're right in saying that pretty much nobody expected it to be this tumultuous. Like, even Microsoft didn't. Microsoft's, and they're like, you know, their lawyers are paid a lot to, you know, assess the likelihood of these things. And from what I understand, speaking to people behind the scenes, like, it caught Microsoft off guard, you know, to some degree, how hard Sony particularly was going to go against this, because at this point it is pretty much Sony. So the only people against the deal right now are Google. Of course, Google would be against the deal, as, you know, Microsoft's arch nemesis, but also Sony. Sony's the only major gaming company against the deal. Nintendo for the deal because Microsoft is committed to bring them Call of Duty. Nvidia GeForce Now is for the deal because Microsoft's committed to bringing them Battle.net, so you can play, you know, World of Warcraft in the cloud on your phone. God, that would be interesting. But, you know, even Tencent You know, Blizzard's arch nemesis,
Mhm.
Riot Games, even they have come out and support the deal. They're not really in a position to be against the deal, considering they're the biggest gaming company by a country mile. but yeah, even they're supporting the deal. So it's wild to me that it's become such a regulatory, nightmare for Microsoft. And any deal of this size deserves scrutiny, because it's consumers that will be affected, and it ultimately should boil down to how is this going to affect consumers. But it's so strange how the whole regulatory argument revolves purely around PlayStation. No one cares how this affects PC gamers. No one cares how this affects Nintendo Switch. No one cares how this affects cloud gamers, as niche as that is. But it's all revolves around how this affects PlayStation, and it's so strange to me why regulators are so focused on how this affects PlayStation, who are the biggest console manufacturer by a mile. It's so strange to me. Sony put out a statement the other day saying gaming will be irreparably damaged if Microsoft gets Activision Blizzard. And it's like, all of gaming? Nintendo Switch is going to be damaged by getting Call of Duty? Like, wait, what? So, like, the way PlayStation sees it is they are all of gaming and no one else matters. That's the way it sees it. Screw the PC gamers. Screw any Blizzard fans who wants this. Screw Blizzard shareholders who voted overwhelmingly for this. And screw Blizzard employees, of which I have spoken to dozens at this point, and haven't found a single person yet who is against the deal. And when I want to write a report, right, I try to represent multiple viewpoints. But the problem is I can't find a single person on the Blizzard side who's against the deal. So it's like if I wrote that up, it'd look like another, I've been accused of doing propaganda for Microsoft. And it's like, well, man, I can't find anyone who's against the deal.
They're on the take.
On the take. I mean, a lot of them do own stock. So yeah, they are on the take. But at the same time, it's kind of like, I want to find someone who can give me a valid argument why this might be not be a good thing beyond PlayStation will be upset, but even PlayStation has nothing to fear because Microsoft's offered them Call of Duty for 10 years,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's crazy. So as to where the deal currently stands, it looks like it could go either way. I'm kind of 50-50 on it right now. Like it's weird because each regulatory region has a different mechanism for this. So like the FTC wants to block it, but in America you can sue the FTC and win. And Facebook just did this because the laws in place, generally favor acquisitions in America. And Facebook was able to beat the FTC in court over a VR company recently. And there's no reason to think Microsoft won't be able to do the same, especially considering the concessions they've offered. They offered similar concessions to what they offered with LinkedIn, which is like, people were worried Microsoft would use LinkedIn to foreclose Google's ad business or something. I can't remember exactly what it was. But to prove that wouldn't happen, Microsoft allowed the FTC or some other regulator, I don't know the exact details, but they allowed them to appoint a trustee who would basically oversee what Microsoft is doing to make sure it wouldn't be abusive. Microsoft offered to do that for Activision and be like, yeah, appoint a trustee to make sure we keep Call of Duty working on PlayStation.
Right.
They've offered to do that. But it doesn't matter in America because you can just sue and you can win. But in Britain, which for whatever reason seems to wield a disproportionate amount of power over this deal, there's not a huge amount of legal recourses you can take if the CMA decides to block something. You can appeal, I think, but then I'm not sure how far Microsoft can take it to court, which is why when the CMA in the UK blocked Facebook from buying Giphy, that GIFs platform, Facebook just like, okay, fine, we'll accept it. I mean, that could have been a convenience thing for Facebook. They could have been like, well, we can save a bit of money here in a year where they've lost like billions and billions of dollars. on the metaverse stuff that completely flopped.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, it's all revolves around the CMA really. Like the EU seems to be more based in reality, and that they'll be happy with a behavioral remedy, which will be like, yeah, appoint a trustee, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll examine it, and and we'll approve it based on that or something, at Microsoft's expense, because a lot of European labor unions have come out being like, yeah, we think this is a good thing
Mm-hmm.
because obviously they're biased because if Microsoft's pro-union, which they purport to be, to get this deal through,
Yes.
the unions get more money because
Right.
it means more people will be paying unions money
Mm-hmm.
because that's how unions make money. So of course they're for the deal.
Mm-hmm.
But unions generally fight on behalf of the workers. You can debate the value of unions separately with someone who probably more qualified, but a lot of people, if you're a worker, generally being in union is a good thing
Mm-hmm.
because they will fight for you in situations where you're being screwed over by your employer, which
Mm-hmm.
is something that Activision has been called out in the
Mm-hmm.
past. So the European Union's probably the outlook for Europe is probably a little bit more positive, but then it all comes back to the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is the UK going to do? Because the UK government has shown itself to be completely dumb with regards to tech, and the CMA is independent of the government in the UK.
And the CMA is who?
The competitions authority in Britain.
Okay.
So
Like antitrust that we have here in the US.
yeah. So it's the equivalent to some of the functions of the FTC essentially. And so far they're really cold on it, and because they've taken all Sony's arguments at face value, and I don't know. I'm not sure why. They're just dumb. There's no other way of putting it. And they've proven themselves to be dumb with some of their own arguments about it.
Mm-hmm.
And they've created markets out of thin air, like Nintendo Switch doesn't count apparently because it's not a high-end console. As if people can game on two consoles at the same time simultaneously.
Yeah.
As if there's no overlap, as if Metroid, Prime Remastered is vastly different to Doom Eternal, in terms of gameplay style or something, or business model. It's completely insane. It's completely and utterly insane. But that's where we're at right now. Microsoft's battling the ignorance of the CMA or the bad faith. We don't know. Are they acting in bad faith?
Yeah.
Or are they just stupid?
Great
Either
question.
way is bad for Microsoft. So that's where we're at with the deal. Don't know if it's going to go through. I'm sort of 50-50 right now, but
50-50. Okay. Yeah, I know from what I've seen, there seems to be just a wild misunderstanding. There were a lot of discussion that I saw about exclusivity and like, whoa, there's going to be stuff that's exclusive. Like, there's always stuff that's exclusive. There's been games that are like PlayStation only for a while, or there's stuff that's Xbox and PC, and like there's that division, and Nintendo Switch. Like, there's always been things that are exclusive to one or another. And then I saw that come up as a talking point. I'm like, well, these people clearly don't understand any of this. But I will say that as somebody who works where I work in state government, my sense on this is probably that all of this is just posturing to get a better deal or to get more concessions. Like, I don't think it's actually going to get blocked. I think people are just trying to squeeze out everything that they can before this goes through because it's so big. I mean, it's such a massive merger or acquisition that they don't want to get left behind or think later, oh, we could have got this or we could have got that. And so it's probably dumb. There's a few palms getting greased, no doubt, campaign contributions, that kind of thing to ensure that there's a little extra pushback. I still feel confident. I'll say that. I'm probably more than 50-50. Maybe I'm 60-40. But yeah.
I'm like 51-49.
50,
something like that.
51-49. Just enough to tip the scale.
Just because of the cold hard logic that there's nothing wrong with it,
Right?
There's nothing bad about it.
Exactly.
It would be bad if Microsoft would take Call of Duty away, but they're not going to do that.
No.
And it's not like people don't know that, because look at what they've done with Minecraft. They've kept Minecraft multi-platform, and in fact, Minecraft runs better on PlayStation than it does on Xbox, for God's sake. So it's they're clearly. It's not about the Xbox anymore.
Yeah.
It's about them being more like Tencent, where it's just like, yeah, we have these mega games that are on every platform, and yeah, they'll keep a subsection of games exclusive because they still want an Xbox business.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be their entire business. Their entire business is going to be, we're more like Tencent now. Blizzard is our Riot games, and these are our mobile games, and these are our PC games, and that's going to be the way their business is. And the Xbox console stuff, that's on the side, that's supplementary, that's a development environment for the cloud stuff, which they're big bet for the future. But this doesn't hurt PlayStation in any way. In fact, I've argued that it benefits PlayStation, because one of the things they're going to do when they've got Activision and they wield that power in mobile, whether it's Call of Duty Mobile or Hearthstone and Candy Crush Saga, which is inexplicably massive despite being the weirdest,
unbelievable,
most money-grabbing game I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I installed Candy Crush for the sake of intellectual honesty. It's like, oh, this is pretty fun. Tapping shit, blowing up candy, whatever. 2 minutes in, it's like, oh yeah, give us $1 million to keep playing.
That's right.
I'm like, what? People pay this? Yeah. People pay this? And apparently people do. This game makes millions. Yeah, so but when they have this clout in mobile, they'll be able to crack open Apple's store. They'll be able to be like, go to regulators and be like, look, Apple's making it impossible to do business on their platform by taking 30%. Can't you give us, dear European Union, can't you give us the opportunity to force Apple to let us install our own app store on their phones, because they have a de facto monopoly, which is kind of like more like how PC works, where you can download the Epic Games Store, you can download the Microsoft Store, you can download Steam, whatever. On Apple, they control everything, which puts a massive limit on the kind of business models that can proliferate on mobile. So for Sony, it would benefit them, because they would be able to grow mobile. They'd be able to make their own mobile store. They'd be able to make mobile games that are exclusive to their mobile store using their massive IP. And if they worked with Microsoft to crack open Apple and Google Play as well, because Google pre-installs Google Play Store in its phones as well, to a lesser extent, that would benefit Sony. But they're not seeing future. They're not seeing the future. They're not seeing the way this is going. They're not seeing the way that open storefronts is going to be key to the growth of future. I mean, Sony's begrudgingly started putting its games on PC, but it's really mobile that's growing more rapidly than other platforms, especially in developing economies and stuff. Crazy. I'm rambling a bit now, but that's the way this is all going, and that's the way Microsoft sees it. But Sony's just like, oh my god, what about my PlayStation? What about my PlayStation? It's like, bro, it's not about PlayStation, I don't know.
Well,
let's see what happens.
I was gonna say,
I just want StarCraft 3, man.
You just want what?
I just want StarCraft 3.
You know what? Thank you for bringing that up, because that was actually one of the last two questions I had for you really quickly is, do you think... So, one, we'll close that chapter. We'll keep an eye on the Microsoft ABK deal. Hopefully that'll go through soon. Regulators figure it out. But StarCraft, one of the most beloved franchises, certainly in this household. Do you think that there is a chance that we're going to see StarCraft 3 or something like it announced at BlizzCon this year, or sometime in the next couple of years?
Well, this is the thing, you see, right? Because Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer, in some of the interviews he did when they first initially began proceedings to purchase ABK, he name-checked StarCraft.
Yeah.
And he was like, we want to bring StarCraft back. We want to bring Skylanders back. We want to bring Guitar Hero back. All these Activision games, which was just languishing in obscurity. And when Phil Spencer name checked StarCraft, I was like, yeah, okay, this deal is a good thing. It's a good thing, And people who are against the deal, they'll say to me on Twitter like, well, Microsoft hasn't done a good job handling its franchise and stuff. And it's like, well, yeah, okay, so they screwed up Halo a little bit, quite a lot maybe. But one franchise they didn't screw up was Age of Empires. They brought Age of Empires back from the dead, They did a damn good job with Age of Empires 4, and they've done a damn good job with Age of Empires 2, which remains one of the most popular RTSs to this day, and constantly gets large expansions. And it's just like, man, I want that for StarCraft. This is like, this is a glimpse at the way Microsoft feels about RTS, you know, in a way that Activision doesn't, because Activision is trend chasing, you know, that's the way they do it, and RTS is quote unquote niche in Activision's mind, even though like games like Heroes of the Storm still played by thousands of people every day. And it doesn't take very long to get a game of Heroes of the Storm, like a couple of minutes, which means like a lot of people are still playing that game, but it's not big enough for Activision. But it will be big enough for Microsoft, because all Microsoft cares about is Xbox Game Pass figures, you know. And to get Xbox Game Pass up, they just want every single niche catered for. Flight simulator, strategy games, you know. I can see Heroes of the Storm coming back on Microsoft, starting to get content again, just because they can throw it into Xbox Game Pass, and like they did with Riot. If you subscribe to Xbox Game Pass, you instantly unlock all the heroes in Heroes of the Storm, or maybe you get like a XP boost and stuff like that. There are things that Microsoft can do as a platform holder to make games relevant in their niches that Activision just can't do. So, yeah, so for me, I see games like StarCraft coming back, maybe as part of Microsoft.
Okay.
But I would be shocked if ABK announced a new StarCraft, because from what I understand, that team just doesn't exist anymore.
Just gone.
Yeah, I mean, even Microsoft had to like outsource Age of Empires, you know, like Relic made Age of Empires 4, and they got a support studio, Forgotten Empires, which is like an indie studio, literally made to keep working on Age of Empires 2, but these are things that could happen, you know. I mean, I have no sourcing on StarCraft coming back, but who knows, you know. I wouldn't be completely shocked if it did, because it's still a mega franchise, and we do have new leadership there. We do have like Mike Barra there, who's you know, a little bit more old school maybe. And I think sorry, go on.
I was gonna say, he even responded to Simu Liu, who had tweeted out something like "Bring back StarCraft," and he replied with like a wink or eyes or like some kind of emoji, I think.
Yeah, he did.
That gave me maybe too much hope.
Yeah, I mean, I could see StarCraft coming back as like a shooter or something. Like they do like a StarCraft Gears of War kind of game, third-person Space Marine violent Zerg shooting game made by some third-party studio. I don't know. I could see that happening. Yeah. But like the RTS though, it's just kind of like, I just feel like Activision just doesn't care. But I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, because StarCraft is just incredible, you know. But I'm still sore about what they did to Heroes of the Storm, you know.
Yeah. No,
putting that out to pasture is just like, oh, come on, man.
Yeah, that was, watching the tournaments for that, I loved it. Like when they had like the college, like the best. Heroes of the Dorm.
Best esport, man.
Oh
yeah, best esport, man.
That was phenomenal. So I do weep for that franchise, as well as my beloved StarCraft. One last thing, while I have you here, is how excited are you for Diablo 4?
Oh my god! Well, I bought the Lilith statue, which was $800.
Oh my! You're fully in the tank.
I am, and I can't afford that. I really can't afford that. And like I bought it in a moment of madness at like 4 a.m. when I was like full blown in.
Oh no!
And I was like, I'm gonna punish myself by buying this statue, you know. And I bought it, and like I actually emailed Blizzard support. I was like, can you cancel this? Because they don't have a mechanism in Europe. I don't know if they do in America, but in Europe they don't have a mechanism for just clicking a button to cancel something from the merch store. You have to like phone them up or email them.
Oh geez.
So I emailed them, no reply to this day. I haven't got a reply. So I was like, man, I gotta like, I get this and then I'll return it. And I got it, and it came in this massive glossy box.
It's huge.
Yeah, it is massive. And I was like, okay, I'll just have a peek inside the box. And I'm like, oh my god, it's so good. It's so good. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna keep it. So now I got like this massive Lilith statue in my tiny office, which really doesn't have room for it. And yeah, so that's my yeah, I'm pretty damn excited for that because you know, it just looks incredible. It looks absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's not my usual foray, but man, it is. The visuals so far, everything that they've shown, like going back to that very classic Gothic feel, is. Yeah. I really liked 3, and I know a lot of people did not like the sort of brighter, more Warcrafty way, even that some of the story played out and some other things and how the gameplay went. But I gotta say, it truly a return to its roots, and it's looking solid. I just hope that the gameplay and everything else follows up, because it's got a lot of really, I feel like, positive hype right now. And a lot of that I think is because of what I've seen on you and your social media. You're all over it. You got it.
Yeah. Oh man, we've hired someone into our team specifically. Well, she covers other things, but we hired her because she's obsessed with Diablo. You know, and we've got like really good rankings on Google for Diablo, inexplicably.
Nice.
Like if you search for like Heraldric Cube recipes, like Windows Central straight at the top.
There it is.
So we're really riding that wave. You know, I wish I could rank like that for Warcraft, but. It's really hard trying to compete with Wowhead.
Yeah.
They're like, I had like 10 articles come up for that news drop, and I'm just like, man, I managed one, you know, one piece of coverage about it, and Wowhead's there like, nah, he's like 20 articles about it. It's like, damn, it's hard to compete with those guys.
They got a whole team, and you know what? Yours was the best anyway. So.
Thank you very much.
That's what matters. Is the World of Warcraft's huge 10.1 update revealed, massive new zone, Blackwing layer inspired raid, and more. That is the article that you can read right now on Windows Central by the man himself, Jez Corden, talking about 10.1, everything that we've covered today. So I think we've said it all. I think we've done enough damage for one episode. So I want to thank you, Jez, for coming on and stopping by the show once again to drop all of your fantastic knowledge. And for those who don't know, where can people find you out there?
Right, so you can find me on Twitter at JezCorden, JZCorden, and windowscentral.com. And also I run a Xbox-oriented podcast called the Xbox 2 Podcast on every Friday, live on YouTube. You can just search for it there if you are an Xbox fan. We talk a lot lately these days, but all we talk about is the ABK deal. It's so exhausting. And if I try and mention WoW, my co-host groans and starts crying. So I have to come here with your lovely self to talk about World of Warcraft, which is absolutely fine by me.
Well,
thanks for having me.
I appreciate that. You're welcome anytime. You're welcome anytime. You can save all that WoW talk for here.
Brilliant. Anytime.
Excellent. Well, thanks again, and my thanks to all of you for listening. And remember, you can always follow me and the show on Twitter at Berserker Rage and Unshackled_Fury, as well as on Twitch, which maybe we'll do a show next month at Unshackled Fury, and also myself, Real Berserker. You can also join our Discord, links for which are in the profile of the show on Twitter and on our bonus roll page. Feel free to contact the show with your questions, comments, or otherwise through any of those resources, or unshackledfury.com. It's still there. And you can find the show wherever you get your podcasts. So once again, thank you for listening. Remember to keep your swords wet and your banners high, and we'll see you next time. Farewell.